side. Not only that 11, but as Craig said, the depth in squad that puts them over the line.
Yeah, it's an incredibly talented side, as everybody keeps mentioning. You've got your mercurial star in Neymar. And the good thing about this Brazil team, as compared to other teams, namely Argentina, who themselves are good on paper and have Lionel Messi, is everybody is willing to pull their weight. This team lives up to expectation. It's lived up to the hype so far. Everybody stays fit, including Neymar. Questions coming into the tournament around his injury. He seems rested, back to full form. Everybody stays fit. I just feel this is, without question, the best team in the tournament.
I know you take it at face value, don't you, what you see on the bench and everything that's going on, but there seems to be a real chemistry within this side.
Yeah, and, you know, when you try and figure out, other than Brazil, who's going to win it, you go to Germany. And straight away, as soon as you say Germany, I think of that team unit. They're a good, solid team. They don't make mistakes. They take advantage of situations they create. But then you look at Brazil.
This completely revolutionised.
This Brazil team is exactly all those things I've just said about Germany. Brazil are that. But you add the star quality, and that's why they separate themselves from your Germanys and from your Spains and your Argentinas.
So what's the weakness?
I really don't think they have a weakness. Wow. You know, I was trying to figure out if there was a weakness defensively that you could really pick on, but not really. I mean, I was trying to say that Thiago Silva maybe was a little struggling at times, but just from back middle to front, this is a team that should be favourites, who are favourites, and I will be shocked if they don't win the World Cup.
Let's take a look at the Golden Ball odds. Remember, this is the best player of the tournament. Neymar is favourite. 8-1 to me. Looks like a damn good bet, doesn't it? For a team that everyone seems to think are going a long way in this tournament.
Yeah, it does. And as I just mentioned, coming into this tournament, seemingly rested now that he's over his injury. And then you chase and pack the likely suspects. Lionel Messi, a lot of questions around Argentina and whether they go deep in the tournament. Again, as much as we think that Brazil will, at the very least, go deep, and Neymar being the leader certainly on the park, it's a good bet. It's a very good bet at 8.
Would you put your money on that, Stevie?
Yeah, I think that's worth a punt. Yeah, I mean, with not just Neymar, if Messi's going to win it, you kind of think he's going to have to win it on his own. Whereas Neymar is not only going to be fantastic on himself, but he's got the surrounding cast.
He's going to have to be good though, Neymar, isn't he? Because he spent the season at PSG, before he got injured, juggling the ball around, you know, taking the mickey out of other players in France, balancing boots in his head. Didn't really play great, and was it the first game at the Bernabeu before he got injured?
Yeah, could have got sent off.
Could and probably should have got sent off. But you just feel when he turns up with this, you just feel he loves the fact now that he's the big I am in this Brazilian team, and he wants to put it right. He had the injury down in Brazil when the World Cup was down there, when he got absolutely mullered in the back from the Colombian player. The Brazilians lost the plot with all the T-shirts, you know, pray for Neymar and all that before the Germany game, and then they lost. So I think with this coach in charge now, it's a more functional side. It's a side that is more focused. None of the histrionics, not so much of a circus, and more concentrated on football.
The thing for me is, and I keep saying it, and I'm sure we'll keep saying it, Brazil, Neymar for Brazil is totally different from Neymar for PSG. And when we're talking about the Golden Ball and you're looking at individuals, and between us here we have Brazil and Germany as the two teams to at the very least meet the final. And Germany has never been a team about individuals. Germany are always thereabouts because they're greater than the sum of their parts. So when you're talking about individuals, Neymar, without question, is a standout player coming into this tournament.
By the way, why have you still got your glasses on?
Do you know what? I get the impression though that as many great players as Brazil have in the team, including Neymar, they seem to have a respect for themselves and the country and the team. You know, Neymar goes and plays in Ligue 1 and takes the mickey out of his opponents and just tries to be flashy. You don't see that with this Brazil side from anybody, not just Neymar, but the lot. They seem to have a respect for the game and each other.
England 8-1 on to advance out of Group G. When we've discussed before, though, Stephen Shaka, you've got them going out in the round of 16.
Yep.
I think it was against Colombia, maybe. You're looking at it. Would that be a failure for England?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody has any expectations for England. Listen, if England somehow managed to do what they normally do and get themselves knocked out this group stage, I'm not so sure everybody would be particularly bothered because it's same old.
Hold on. When they finished bottom of the group in Brazil, a group that Costa Rica won, by the way, it was Italy and Uruguay in there. So Costa Rica were the surprise, but that was a difficult group to get out of with the teams in it. Tunisia and Panama.
Right.
You're saying if England don't get out of that group, they'll be like that in England? That was quite a tough group.
When they got beat...
Panama!
Ever since they got knocked out by Iceland, there's been a completely different feeling around England. It's almost like everybody's given up and it's like, well, do you know what? Does it really matter?
But Stevie, then...
That's the impression I get. Does it really matter?
But then they pulled this group out and it's like, well... It'd be a disaster for them not to get out of this group. An absolute disaster.
Yes, but I just don't see how people would be saying the same things as they did when they got beat by Iceland. I just don't think the apathy is incredible.
The funny thing for me about England and the English media covering this tournament is tournaments gone by, teams were stacked, full of talent, and the expectation was high. And now this year's because the expectation isn't so high, that means we're going to go deep in the tournament, which I don't get that catch-22 at all. But at the same time, yes, England should get out of the group. Panama, I don't think will put much of a fist in this tournament. You're looking at Tunisia.
Yeah, what about Tunisia? We take a look at England's schedule, and England kick things off, don't they?
Open with Tunisia.
With Tunisia, we saw them in action against Spain. They didn't look bad at all.
They looked very good. Had excellent opportunities against Spain to open the scoring. This is still the highest-ranked African team coming into the tournament. Opening game of the tournament, Tunisia, you sleep on them, and you could find yourselves heading home early.
So all of a sudden, in the space of 30 seconds, it's like, hold on a wee minute, they could be in trouble against Tunisia.
Well, I don't think.
What do you mean in the space of 30 seconds?
Well,
England...
is pretty much...
I'm saying...
Excuse me being presumptuous, but you're pretty much agreeing with me. I tell you what, this is not a foregone conclusion.
No, it's not.
Right, so... There you go. If it's not a foregone conclusion and they don't make it,
so we're saying,
are we really going to be that bothered?
Well, I don't think.
Oh, goodness me! Of course we will, Stevie.
Well, I think if they drop points against
you will.
I think you're saying there wouldn't be an inquest in England if they didn't get out of the group. There'll be an inquest if they don't get the 3 points against Tunisia. I mean, all the lead up for England has been the managers talking great, the press conferences have been great. The FA have organised things fantastically well. The access has been magnificent. The players have been open. The fan on the street, that just washes over their head. Yeah. It's all about performance and results. He's got some big decisions to make. He's going to play 3 at the back. Does Walker play back there? Who comes in and plays beside Stones? Is it Maguire? Is it Cahill? Is it Jones? Who does he play in the left wing back role? Is it Dyer and Henderson in the midfield? So he's got some big decisions to make, and if they do get off to a rocky start against Tunisia, mark my words, the press will not be saying in England and the fans, oh, well, that was a little bit unlucky. They'll absolutely muller them.
Let's bring Gab Marcotti into the conversation. Gab, Stevie says no one will be bothered in England if they don't get out of the group.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we're really in uncharted territory here because people who go back much further than I do, and I've been in this country for a very long time, are saying that this is the most likable England team ever, and these expectations are as low as they've ever been, and it's a bunch of nice guys, and they've bought into the fact that Gareth Southgate's going on a journey, and they're being asked to trust the process. So it's a wonderful conundrum there. People seem to wonder, hey, you know what? If they don't get out of the group, not that big a deal. As long as there's progress and they keep behaving and they do us proud. I don't know. I'm really curious. Part of me wants to lean towards Craig and say, you know what? If they screwed up against Tunisia in the first game, they'll be held to pay straight away.
Do you remember when David Beckham came back after the sending off in France '98?
Yeah, of course.
And I don't condone it, and I don't necessarily agree with the level of criticism he got, of course not, but he got absolutely smashed, for that little incident with Simeone. Can you imagine if this group of England players have a poor tournament again, come back, Premier League season, do you think the fans will be there now? Let's not boo them because they're a really likeable bunch of chaps.
Beckham and Gerrard and all these guys, every time there was a tournament, it was, if we don't get to semis, it'll be a disappointment, or, maybe even the quarters. So the fact that Gab's saying that actually in England right now they're saying, Well, as long as there's some progress, and even if they don't
How
get
can
out
there
of
be
the group-
progress if they don't get out of the group?
So how can
That doesn't make
how
any
can you
sense.
possibly think it's going to be as bad as when Beckham came back, or the last time when they lost to Iceland? It's actually got disaster written all over it. A bunch of nice guys.
I think if England get to the quarters, it'll be...
Seriously?
A quarter-final, I think, will be about as far as this team can go. Absolutely. Big performances from Harry Kane, who had a poor Euros. Big performance from Raheem Sterling, who had a great season. He's had a lot of stick. And get the basics right at the back. They'll give themselves a chance to get to the quarter-finals. But if they defend poorly in this competition, it is going to bite them in the backside.
Meanwhile, a saga at Stamford Bridge is still continuing. Who's going to be their new manager? As it stands, of course, Antonio Conte is still in charge. However, the bookies have got Sarri now 9-2 on to become the next coach at Chelsea. How close is this to being a done deal, Gab?
So supposedly this is based on the fact that there's another round of discussions coming up next week. Remember, the issue with Sarri as well is that he has to get out of his Napoli contract. Napoli will want some level of compensation for it. The thinking is maybe Sarri can work out something where he takes less money from Chelsea, or maybe it's a basic salary plus a big bonus, and then you divert some of that money to pay off Napoli. I don't know. To me, it's still a big cluster mess, and every day that passes, I think Conte becomes a little more firmly rooted to the Chelsea bench until, of course, the day he decides, right, I've had enough, I'm walking away, and I'm foregoing the money I'm owed.
This is a comedy at the moment.
Yeah,
isn't
what a
it?
mess.
It's an even bigger comedy when you see Avram Grant's name on the 16-1. That tells you how this is...
That's not normally a man you associate with comedy.
How comedic this is. No, but I mean, I think he's had the ear of the owner before, but I mean, it's just a mess, and it's a real worry for Chelsea fans. Not only that, but the fact they're in the Europa League next year, the fact that the money's doesn't seem to be there to spend on players anymore, the fact that there's a mess around the stadium, senior players may go. I mean, why the hell would Thibaut Courtois and Eden Hazard and players like that commit anything to a club whose owner doesn't really know what direction he wants them to go in at the moment? So the worry is that they're going to lose key players. They're not going to have the same money to spend. Meanwhile, the big boys at the top of the Premier League are out there spending and looking to push themselves further away.
Gab, how big of a deal is it, the fact that Conte is still there? You get a feeling at the moment, for example, that it's a sinking ship at Chelsea, isn't it?
Well, look, what I was told is that if in the end it turns out that Conte comes back, it's not the worst thing in the world, because Conte has a lot of pride. He's a professional. We can always talk about how poor their season was last year, but they did end up winning a trophy. And
Gab, you can't buy that, surely, though. The way in which
them.
there would just seem to be turmoil, all those post-match press conferences where he seemed to be begging to be sacked. You can't ideally, or you can't make do with having that man once again in charge of your side, surely.
But you think you have to remember, Dan, that if he comes back every week that passes, the money owed to him becomes less and less. And I think from Conte as well, if he moves on from Chelsea, he wants his next job to be a big one. So the idea would be, if he comes back, it's not as if he's going to try to sabotage the whole operation from the inside. He's going to do what he does. And remember, he's done his best work when his back's been against the wall. Think back to Euro 2016 when he had a team with no talent. Think back to his first season at Juventus when the team weren't very good and he didn't get any of the players he wanted.
Are we really in a situation, though, Gab, that Chelsea are now concerned about paying off managers? They've had no problem over the years doing that. Is that really a conversation?
Yeah, but the difference is that, I think that's the reality of Chelsea right now, because remember, you also have bubbling in the background, you have Abramovich's legal situation vis-a-vis his visa, where, right now he can't come into England and stay and work for an extended period of time after investing, enormous amounts of money into the economy. He's not happy about that. But the fact of the matter is, Chelsea took a huge hit when they missed out on Europe in Mourinho's final season. They're going to take a huge hit this year, and they took a huge hit with Mourinho's payoff, which was enormous. Chelsea aren't Manchester United when it comes to what they can spend. They have to mind their P's and Q's, and from their perspective, paying somebody $8 million, $10 million to go away, and then having to pay Napoli compensation to take Sarri, and then having to pay Sarri a big salary as well, they're saying, you know what? it's just not worth it. Better to bide our time and let's see what happens.
But Gab, I thought that Conte's relationship with Abramovich's lieutenants had broken down a long time ago. That's going to make that working there for him and for them particularly difficult. As Dan mentioned, the atmosphere around the place last year with the press conferences was pretty toxic.
That's very true, Craig. I think the big difference is, remember, one of the lieutenants is gone. The other lieutenant, which you're talking about, Marina Granovskaya, I think from her perspective, too, she's stuck between a rock and a hard place. She can't go and hire a director of football, let alone a manager, on her own without Abramovich's involvement. Abramovich right now, he's got other issues to deal with. So in the end, if they're stuck with each other, the thinking is the two of them are going to find a way to make it work. They've been in worse situations before. Remember, they're not going to be thinking long term. They're going to be thinking, let's just make it work for 12 months, get us back into the top four, have us leapfrog some of these Muppet teams who came ahead of us next year, get us back to our rightful place, as they see it, of course. And then we'll have all the time in the world to bring in the people we want to bring in to hopefully extend Hazard's contract, extend Courtois' contract. You'll improve your rep, Conte, and then you can go off to wherever you want to go to, and we'll get ourselves the manager we want.
Gab, before you go to Russia, let's get your selection. Let's take a look at your group picks first. First off, surprise Russia going through.
Well, they're at home. I think Salah's tired after a long season. And as I see it, it's going to be them or Egypt.
Morocco, meanwhile, over Portugal. You got Peru to go through over Denmark. Meanwhile, Argentina and Nigeria in Group D. Brazil, Serbia, Germany, Mexico, Belgium, England, Senegal, Poland. You don't like Colombia, Gab?
I just think Colombia are very erratic, and well, as are the other teams in that group. But I think Senegal possibly have a slightly higher ceiling and one of the best defenders in the tournament.
Okay, let's pick up then, as we now have this beautiful graphic as a result of those picks. Starting off with Spain against Russia.
Spain.
Argentina, Peru.
Argentina.
Okay, good. This is good. Right. Germany, Serbia.
I so want to troll Germany fans by picking Serbia,
well,
reminding them what happened against Algeria. But I can't just yet, so I'm going to stick with Germany.
Okay, meanwhile, Senegal, England.
Senegal.
Oh, you troll English people, well, you no problem. Right, okay, let's go to the other side, shall we? Uruguay, Morocco.
Uruguay.
France, Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Wow, Gab. Brazil, Mexico.
Brazil.
Belgium, Poland.
Belgium.
Just go back. Why did you pick Nigeria, Gab? You being silly?
No, I think you're going to get upsets at some point in the tournament, right? Again, if somebody picked Algeria over Germany last time, people said, "Oh, well, you would have been silly." I think Nigeria are actually a pretty consistent side, and I think France have some inconsistencies. France are the biggest wild card in this tournament. They can win it all. They're the most talented 23, perhaps, but equally they could implode.
Okay, then. So then Nigeria, what will they do against Uruguay?
I got Uruguay.
Oh, okay, that's that done then. Brazil, Belgium.
Brazil.
Brazil to go through. Right, let's take it to the other quarterfinals. Spain, Argentina. Ooh.
Spain.
Spain. That's it. Germany, Senegal.
Germany.
Almost semi-finals. Okay, so let's take it through to those two semis. Spain against Germany.
Spain.
And Uruguay against Brazil.
Uruguay.
Oh, wow. Why?
Again, the upsets happen. Brazil are a better team.
That's not an explanation, is it?
You're asking me about predict how this game's going to go in like 4 weeks' time.
No, I'm just saying that
Otherwise,
if
I'll
you
just
say
pick chalk,
Uruguay are going to
well.
beat Brazil, you think, oh, maybe defensively Brazil a week or something. Some sort of analyst. It doesn't matter.
I have
Who's
no
going to
idea
win?
what it's going to look like in 4 weeks.
Well, it's a
All right, I'll give you
predictor.
a more studied.
Spain against Uruguay then.
If a predictor, we just go with the favorites all the time. But no, I think.
Who's going to win the whole World Cup, Spain or Uruguay then?
Individuals. I'm going to go Spain.
Right, good. Spain are going to win the World Cup, according to Gab. Have a great flight to Russia. Enjoy yourself, Gab Marcotti. Welcome to Extra Time, everybody here. Gab spending his last moments before he heads to Russia with us. Sure Mrs. Marcotti's happy with that, Gab?
Yeah, she's delighted. She's absolutely over the moon that I'm spending my final hours here in the Scepter Dial, sitting in a room, talking to myself, staring at a camera.
I thought that's what you normally did 24 hours a day anyway.
Why have much of the panel
Thank
ignored Neymar in that ultimate 11 for the World Cup?
No, go back to
Why are you
that.
looking
Go
at
back
me?
to that. Go back to what we were talking about.
Oh, when we were
before,
talking about before, about referees who are going to be using the VAR are going to be in their full kit.
which has been tweeted out by
A reliable source.
a reliable journalist, and then you retweeted it.
Yeah.
So I can just all imagine them getting in this truck, or
Would they check the studs? on the way
operation
in the
room.
truck?
I could just see them
Look at
warming
your
up.
studs.
Now, do they have to get the oil on and start stretching? Do they have to stretch as well?
No, maybe is it a psyche thing? If they're in their kit, they'll be more focused.
It's just stupid if it's true.
Get the studs on.
It's absolutely stupid.
What
Are
should they
we
wear?
really
What should they
surprised?
wear then? What should they wear? Just jeans and a t-shirt?
So you think it's a good idea?
No, I'm just asking.
No,
I'm
it's
just
just what you
asking. What
think
should they
they're
wear?
thinking. Is this an IFAB thing? Is this one of your directives?
I'm asking, what should they
Tell you
wear?
what they should wear. They should wear FIFA.
Suit.
FIFA slacks and a jacket with a badge on it because they're involved with FIFA, so that everybody knows who they are. How's that?
Okay.
Why don't they wear
Understood.
the suit and tie, their FIFA accreditation jacket that they've got, says FIFA, FIFA, and just sit and do your bloody job. If they get spotted dressed up, that's it.
They can't be properly.
can't.
dressed up.
This has got to be.
No way.
It's got to be a spoof.
There's no
Has to be.
way.
There's no way you would get in a truck or an operation centre when miles from the ground with your kit on.
No way. We'd have to do a warm-up before they get in the truck.
You just said all of that.
By the way, he did that to me earlier as well.
Why have much of the panel ignored Neymar in their ultimate 11 for the World Cup?
Because Neymar wasn't. We got sent a list of players, right? And he wasn't on it.
Do you know earlier?
Aye.
Do you know when we did that show earlier for the UK?
Yeah, and everyone else.
Oh, I never realised.
Yeah.
I do apologise. And I was talking about Neymar monkeying around last year.
Yes.
And joking around
Yeah,
and
but
bouncing.
yes.
Yeah. And then he said the same thing 20 seconds later.
Oh dear, Stevie.
It's old age.
Turning into Mariner.
Oh, sure.
Did you have Neymar in your...
I need another
27 teeth.
I need to grow another 15 teeth then. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yes, I had Neymar in my ultimate 11, yes.
With Argentina in the group of death, aren't we in for a big surprise? They don't play great football and barely made it out of qualifying. You don't think they're getting out of the group? Oh, it's Sid. I keep getting you and Sid confused.
Yeah, it's easily done.
Gotcha.
Argentina out of the group, yeah. Even Gav, you got Argentina. You're the big contrarian on the panel.
absolutely.
You said they're getting out of the group.
What's the group again?
Mexico?
Gab knows. Gab will know.
Gab, who's the group
What's
again?
Argentina's group again?
Argentina, Nigeria,
And two other teams.
Croatia, and
This is what happens when you do all these predictors.
Iceland.
Right.
Iceland. That's right, Iceland.
Iceland.
That's right, Iceland. That's a group of death.
Well, but I think, Dan, I
Yes.
think the key with this is that Argentina are a really, really difficult team to decipher because you don't know if Messi's going to just carry everybody all of a sudden. We know Iceland can be tough to beat. They've shown it before, but you also know that it's Iceland. They could be really, really bad too. Nigeria, their whole history has been highs and lows.
Yeah.
And Croatia, you've got a group of incredibly inconsistent players. Plus, you have the Modric-Lovren situation, where you have two guys who currently stand accused of some pretty nasty stuff back home. So, I think these are four teams that could all go in either direction. We wouldn't be super surprised to see them in a quarterfinal, and you probably wouldn't be shocked if they went out in the group stage, except maybe for Nigeria.
Who thinks Brazil looked more lethal with Firmino instead of Jesus?
Are you looking at Steve?
What are you looking at,
That's
man?
Liverpool, isn't it? I just thought you might have an opinion.
Listen, regardless whether it's Firmino or Jesus, they're fantastic. They look great going forward regardless. They can pick, any 3 from 6, and it really, I don't think will affect them too much.
Who's he play for?
Who?
Firmino.
Firmino?
Yeah.
That was my Brazilian slant on it. All right. You mean Bobby? His name's Bobby.
I just wondered who Firmino
So
played
Bobby
for. I know Firmino plays for Liverpool.
Brazil and
I just wondered
Liverpool.
who Firmino plays for.
Firmino. Oh, fair enough. All right.
How nice has it been not to discuss Jose Mourinho in a few days? Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I miss him already, and 10 being who is that again? By the way, it's a 10 from me. You haven't mentioned Mourinho.
Who?
Why? Exactly. There you are. That's it.
He's gone to World Cup. He's working as a pundit.
Is he?
Yeah. You mean as you know that?
I don't know that. Is he, why would I know that?
Well, it's your job to know that.
Not really, is it? The Mourinho's going to be there. Gav, have a lovely trip. Enjoy
Yes.
yourself.
Thank you. I'll say hi to Jose for you.
Oh, is he going to be
Safe
there?
trip, Gav. Will you be having spaghetti in Russia?
No, let's not do all this again.
Why would we reach
No,
out?
what?
Oh, I don't know.
At some point, perhaps, yes. They do have Italian restaurants in Russia. In Moscow and in St. Petersburg, in fact.
Asking. Just
Have a
inquiring.
pleasant trip, Gabriele.
Yeah, that's it. Go.
Yes, there we go.
Thank you.
That wants to go spend some time with this.
Don't order lasagna.
Had enough of us.
That's how that.
Rightly so.
Gab, of course, heading to Russia. We'll be here tomorrow, counting down to the start of the World Cup.
Sounds so enthralled.
You're off tomorrow, aren't you?
Right.
So, Ma.
Oh,
Magic.
you in, Sean?
And I'm here.
Glasses and all.
Robert will be here, won't he?
Yeah, you were,
Man,
you were
good.
talking about wing backs tomorrow.
It's a big ask, isn't it, for Australia to get out of Group C. The bookies have them as 4-1 to advance to the knockout stages. Well, throughout the World Cup, however long they last, so Stephanie Brands will be with them, and we can catch up with Stephanie now.
Thanks, Dan. Yes, I'm here in Kazan in the southwest of Russia. It's a city of just over 1.14 million people, making it the 6th most populated city in the country. It's also the capital of the Republic of Tatarstan, and over the last decade has been building a reputation as the sporting capital of Russia. Now, they've hosted the World Championships of Fencing, the World Aquatic Championships, and also the Summer Universiade. Last year, they were, of course, one of the host cities for the FIFA Confederations Cup. But now it's the big time, and it's not just the Australian Socceroos, but also Japan and Colombia that have decided to base themselves here in Kazan ahead of their World Cup campaigns for 2018. Now, it is a beautiful city, lots for the fans to enjoy. You can see the Kazan Kremlin behind me, which is a World Heritage listed site. However, for the Socceroos, their focus will be on their training base, which is normally home to Akbars, the local ice hockey team. Socceroos arrived there this afternoon off the back of a 2-1 win over Hungary in Budapest. Now, a goal from Daniel Arzani, the 19-year-old, was probably the highlight in what was a bit of a scrappy encounter. Coach Bert van Marwijk has said he was pleased with how the Socceroos responded to his very frank and honest halftime chat, but he also acknowledged that the toll of that 2-week intensive training camp in Antalya, Turkey, had started to show, and we saw some very tired legs out there. So there is a bit for Van Marwijk and his team to work on in the days ahead, and they'll be opening their campaign on Saturday against Group C favourites France. That clash will take place just down the road at the Kazan Arena, but Dan, in the meantime, we'll keep bringing you all the latest from inside Camp Socceroo.
Great stuff, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Just a reminder for the Socceroos, it all kicks off on Saturday, and what a start it is as they take on France. Sebastian Salazar, of course, busy. He's embedded with the Mexico side along with Hercules Gomez, and Mexico's second favourites to go through into the knockout stages from Group F along with Germany. Let's catch up with Sebi now, who's with Hercules Gomez.
Thanks, Dan Herc. We've now been in Russia for 24 hours. This was our first full day. First off, how's your Russian coming?
It's going well. Let's see.
What do you know?
Привет.
What does that mean?
Hello.
Okay.
Spasiba. Thank you. Toilet. This is the bathroom. Voda, which is water.
Wow.
So I have the necessities.
My approach to Russian has been the Dan Thomas approach to pronouncing difficult names.
What does that mean? Just mumble?
Just mumble it authoritatively, and hopefully nobody will realize that you screwed it up. Sorry, Dan.
No, accurate.
But we did get a chance to experience some Russian cuisine today. I think I have to be honest, our first few hours on the ground here, we didn't really get a good taste of Russian food. I enjoyed what we ate today.
Are you
borscht?
blaming ESPN for
No,
our
I'm
food?
not going there. I will say this, the borscht, which is a root vegetable
Beet in
soup,
Yeah,
which
cabbage.
if you explain that to me on paper, I would never have ordered it. It was actually really good.
The dumplings were delicious.
Did you get
No, benmiani. Yes,
Dan Thomas approach.
Dan Thomas approach. And then the beef stroganoff was actually
Oh, yeah?
really good. Yes, which is really tasty. So I recommend it.
And we got to see the Red Square, the Kremlin, St. Basil's Cathedral, all really beautiful and amazing stuff. I would say this, it doesn't quite feel like we're in a World Cup country just yet.
Not yet. We didn't see a whole lot of jerseys.
No.
I mean, we're still what?
7 days
out.
from Mexico's
7 days
first
out
game,
from Mexico. Yes.
4 days from the opener.
I didn't see one single Mexico jersey, and that's one of the most well-traveled teams in the world. Like you said, 7 days out. Hopefully we'll see him, but it does have a different, distinct type of feel.
Absolutely. Hey, there is a little bit of news surrounding the Mexican team. Apparently, Raul Jimenez is all but done on a loan to Wolves, who will be in the Premier League next season. I don't think anybody would make the case that Wolverhampton is a bigger or better club than Benfica, so is this a good move for Jimenez?
Well, if he plays, it's a good move. He wasn't playing much in Benfica, and he had rumored moves to Everton. That didn't happen, so hopefully this is the move that gets him back in the limelight and gets him some playing time.
All right, that's all the time we've got here from just outside of Moscow. For Hercules Gomez, I'm Sebastian Salazar. Dan, we send it back to you.
2 on 3. It's a new one today. Pretty much every day they're
Yeah,
putting
I'll
one
think
out.
about it later.
You can download the latest edition right now.
Sam Borden, Sebastian Salazar in Moscow, where we just had a chance to meet with Carlos Cordero. Yes, USSF president, but also right now co-chair of the United 2026 bid, trying to be the 2026 World Cup to the United States, Canada, and Mexico. I have always thought that this was going to be a very much up-in-the-air process, yet what I took away from that meeting is confidence, if not overwhelming confidence, that at the end of the day, United 2026 will get the 2026 World Cup. Is that what you took away?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that this bid is very confident, and certainly they have reason to be. The technical report that the FIFA task force that evaluated their bid and Morocco's bid was very clear. I mean, the U.S., Mexico, and Canada was superior in almost every category. It was a very strong endorsement, and hypothetically, that's what the voting nations are supposed to take into account, is that report, and give that some serious play in what their decision is. I think what I took away from Carlos Cordero today is that they're confident, they have every reason to be confident, but they also know what happened in 2010, and they know FIFA, and they know that in this arena, nothing is for certain.
So you mentioned 2010, and the technical reports in 2010 were markedly similar to the technical reports that you just mentioned, yet the voting is different this time around. How do the changes in voting affect what we might see?
Well, after the FIFA scandals, the arrests, the kind of overhaul of the organization as a whole, the voting on the World Cup bids was changed completely. Before, it was just the FIFA Executive Committee, essentially, 24 of the power brokers in world football. It was like the definition of backroom deals. Now, 200 plus member nations, pretty much everybody, every country that has a football federation and is eligible to vote will vote. 1 vote per country, and the magic number is 104, and that's what the United bid is trying to get to.
Where do you think this vote comes down to? Because if you look at the numbers, there's maybe between CONMEBOL and CONCACAF, 40 votes, 50 votes in Africa that everybody assumes will go to Morocco. So who decides this?
Right. I mean, I think that's a fair way to start from. I think the United States, Mexico, and Canada expects that they'll actually get a couple of votes in Africa. Maybe it ends up being 45-ish when you think about the Western Hemisphere and then Africa. To me, the real battleground is going to be Asia. Very different types of areas in Asia. You know, the Middle East is very different than West Asia, which is very different than Central Asia, which is very different than the Indian subcontinent. There is no block voting in Asia. And so over the last 3 months, Carlos Cordero and all of the leaders from the United Bid have spent a lot of time in Asia trying to get as many votes as they can there. If they're able to get what they think they can get there, as well as a little bit in Europe, they're going to be well over the line.
The elephant in the room, if you will, is the Trump administration and whether the policies or the rhetoric would affect this vote. What I took away from the roundtable that we just sat at is not only will it not affect the vote, there may actually be a positive spin to what the Trump administration has been able to do specifically for the United Bid.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the way that the United Bid has been able to get to where it has gotten in terms of the FIFA reaction to their bid is because they've gotten guarantees from the Trump administration about visas, about entry and exit, about movement between the countries, all things that I think a lot of people were concerned about. But the administration has given them guarantees, and that satisfies FIFA. I think what I took away today was that there is still that sort of wild card, though, of what's going to happen in the political arena over the next couple of days. There's a big North Korea meeting on Tuesday before this vote takes place, and there has been a back and forth not so positive between Trump and the Canadian Prime Minister, which makes for an interesting situation in terms of how federations are going to perceive those remarks and those circumstances and how that might affect their vote on Wednesday.
Cordero has told us he's got 5 meetings with federations on Monday and then another meeting with a federation on Tuesday. This thing very much seems like it's coming down to the wire, despite their confidence.
Yeah, I mean, on Tuesday, they will make their final pitches to each of the confederations at those confederation congresses, asking directly for their support and saying, vote for us on Wednesday. You know, there will be a little bit more, I guess, sort of hand-wringing and handshaking in the run-up, and then on Wednesday, I think by lunchtime Wednesday in America, we'll know whether the World Cup is coming back to the United States for the first time since 1994.
He's Sam Borden. I'm Sebastian Salazar. That's the latest from Moscow.
Thank you very much, guys. Just a reminder, we'll be all over this story as it develops.